Hi, everyone. Hi. Welcome. My name is Carolyn Bridget Flynn, and I'm the editor of Sacred Stone, Sacred Water. And it is so thrilling to look out and see so many faces that I love and adore, and faces that are new to me. So everyone is so welcome. And first of all, a round of applause. We're going to hear more from Innisfree, but aren't they wonderful? So we have an incredible night planned out. We've been having so much fun thinking about it and putting it together. We have music, we have poetry, we've got prose, all based on this book about Ireland. And we will have an intermission just to let you know the flow of the night. So there'll be, a bit of a break in the middle, time to be with each other, take a break, get refreshments, buy books, and that kind of thing. So for the first half, and just while we're here tonight, just want to ask you if you would please turn off your cell phones, just sort of a few logistics, just so that they don't ring or make any noise. That would be great, thank you. And no flash photography, if you would. We are videotaping, so if you could kind of be aware of that, that would be great. The bathrooms, if you don't know, are through the hallway and then right on the other side out to the right, so they'll be there. And we are really so happy to be able to celebrate this book, which kind of came into its own because it wanted to be in the world. That's how I feel about Sacred Stone, Sacred Water. So it came about from a tour and writing retreat that I led in Ireland in 2016. And my parents, my grandparents, my father's parents, were born in Ireland. They came here in 1913. And my parents kept a connection with Ireland. They brought us there as kids, so we've always had a deep connection. But it wasn't until I went back to Ireland in 1996, when I was about 38 years old. And many of us do this. We're looking to find our ancestors. And we sometimes, we do it through various ways. We go find family stories, we find family photographs. Sometimes we get back to the homeland. And I needed to get back to Ireland on my own, outside of my parents' story, and come to understand it. And while I was there, on just a happenstance, I went to see a place called Newgrange. And Newgrange is an incredible passage mound built 5,000 years ago in Ireland. It's the size of an acre. And it's a passage mound because it is a mound built of megalithic stones, and you walk inside it about a third of the way, and then there's a chamber that's big enough about to hold maybe 20, 25 people. And it is filled with carved stones, with triple spirals and amazing art. It is outrageously incredible inside. You know immediately that you're in a church. And then you learn that not only is it incredible, but the opening is aligned to the winter solstice sunrise. So a few mornings a year, as the sun crests the hill there, assuming it's a sunny morning, the sun will exactly go into that chamber and illuminate the stones, and you need no light. Otherwise, it is pitch black inside Newgrange and all of the rest of the passage mounds. And there are dozens of passage mounds all throughout Ireland. There's another one that you'll hear a little bit more about as well that we visited while we were there. So just to say, I fell madly in love with a very ancient story of Ireland, as well as my own very recent ancestors, and started going back very often, and then started bringing groups of writers and artists with me to do writing retreats and tours. And they've all been magnificent, because there is something about the landscape of Ireland that seems to agree with the creative spirit, as we know about the story of Ireland. And the trip in 2016 was no exception. There was beautiful writing, it was an incredible tour, and we also had the one additional thing, which is some really terrific photographers and artists. And in particular, I want to mention Janice O'Driscoll, who's sitting right there at the end. And Janice O'Driscoll is the designer of Sacred Stone, Sacred Water, and I was watching her and one or two other photographers very carefully hold still for the shot and get some really stunning photography of Ireland. And I started to be able to imagine a book that would take some of the beautiful writing I was hearing and some of the incredible photography that I could tell was happening, and that we could put together something very extraordinary. On the last night of our tour, I turned to Janice. We were just sitting there after dinner, and I proposed this book and asked her would she design it, and she said she would right there. I like to do that kind of thing, she said. And this is an interesting book. I'm sure all of us have seen a lot of photography books about Ireland. This one has its own soul. It's put together in a very interesting, quirky way, and I've really come to admire what Janice did. So I hope you all really enjoyed the photography. But what I love about this, because it's a coffee table book, is that the writing is at a fabulous level. So you really also enter Ireland through a wonderful sense of really touching in with the true depth of Ireland through the writing as well as the photography. So what we want to do tonight is, first of all, just be aware that when we were in Ireland, we visited 3 different parts of Ireland, and you're going to hear work from all 3 parts. We started in the Boyne Valley, which is about an hour north of Dublin, and that's where Newgrange is and the rest of the Passage Mounds, including one called Loch Cruz, where we walked to the top of a hill and saw an amazing alignment that you'll hear a little bit more about during this night. We also went down to the Beara Peninsula, which is a stunning landscape in the southwest of Ireland, which is rugged, and we were right by the sea, and it's a very different kind of landscape. We were totally pulled into the land. And then we were in Kildare with a deep immersion with the goddess Bridget and the goddess Saint Bridget, who's an amazing, the feminine divine energy of Ireland, as I'm sure many of you know, is Bridget, who was a goddess in the Celtic world, and then when it was time for Ireland to become Christian, she just went right with her people into the Christian world and said, sure, saint's good, I'm fine, call me a saint. And she's up there with Patrick. She's got amazing amount of energy in Ireland. So what I thought I would start with is read from the preface to the book so that you can get a little bit of a sense of what we were about. The pre-dawn equinox morning was dark and crisp as we climbed the hill of Loch Cruz, also known for its old Irish name, Slieve na Cailleach, or Hill of the Old Woman. Our 20-minute walk had begun in twilight darkness. We could still see stars in the Irish sky. Still as we climbed, we were at the cusp of time. As we crested the hill, the sky was cerulean blue, otherworldly and clear. A few stars still shone. Before us was the sacred passage mound of Loch Cruz, an apparent grassy hill about 30 feet high, lined with huge megalithic stones. Back in the day, that is 5,000 years ago, this hill was a dazzling mound of immense stones covered in small white quartz, with an inner chamber large enough to hold 12 people. Each year on the autumn and spring equinox, the rising sun, then and still today, precisely enters the inner chamber and illuminates the carved stones within. The ancient symbols carved upon the stones seem to glow and pulse. It is a breathtaking sight. So I'll just mention these mounds were aligned to the equinoxes and the solstices. So this one was aligned to the equinox, and we were there for it. But you have to be there for this breathtaking sight. It can only happen if the sun emerges from behind the clouds and the sky is clear, which is never taken for granted in our beloved Ireland. I've climbed Loch Cruz on equinox morning in the past, only to be met by low gray skies. But that morning, however, the signs were good. We found our place in line along some 200 other women, men, and children. There was a hush as the horizon turned pink, then rosy salmon, too bright for words. Then the orange sun peaked the hill and touched our faces. It is not exaggeration to say that every single human on the hill that morning was beautiful. Our much-loved guide, Jared Clark, and our wonderful driver, Trevor Mitchell, had climbed the hill with us. All of us wore the wide open face of awe. In this book, you will see that the solar alignment occurred, and we were there to witness it. You will read the poetry and writing that unfolded, and see photographic images of an unrepeatable moment. You will as well enter countless other moments, small encounters and epic sights that occurred during our 2-week journey. Our time in Ireland seared each of us and changed us thoroughly. To share what we saw and felt, we used poetry, story, essay. We used the lens of our cameras and the click of our phones. We used pen and ink, paintbrush, and lithograph. What emerged in Sacred Stone, Sacred Water is a vision of Ireland not often seen. Our journey was a writing retreat, and we wrote every day. And as we journeyed, I was so moved by each woman's writing and poetry that seemed to spring from a unique collaboration between her individual spirit and the ancient Irish landscape. Our group included published writers and artists, novelists, poets, photographers, painters, medical doctors, healers, musicians, educators, political organizers, social workers, and international activists. The work of this talented circle was elevated, intelligent, soulful, and finely honed. Ireland had opened all of our hearts, and we took up her invitation. Ours was an intimate journey, and Sacred Stone, Sacred Water is an intimate book. Everywhere we turned in the Irish landscape, stones had outlasted millennia, and water was all around, often falling from the sky. Our group of writers and artists let all of this enter. With this book, you can join us. Thank you. So now I get to welcome up some poets, and it's just a thrill to start with Sarojini Rohan. We were so happy to share this trip with Sarojini, who is a writer, a musician, an educator, who first traveled to Ireland in 2004, where she discovered her love of Irish music. Upon returning, she established the Celtic group Innisfree that we've just been hearing from. She has since returned to Ireland 4 times for inspiration and renewal. Her poems have been published in Monterey Bay Poetry Review, Landscape of Poetry and Soul, and Sisters Singing. She's published articles on education and working with young children based on her 38 years as a teacher. She lives in the mountains of Santa Cruz, and her spirit is everything to us. We're so happy to welcome Sarojini Rohan.
So I think we're all looking for places of belonging in the world, some through a person, a community, spiritual paths, maybe even a physical place of earth. In looking at my heritage, which is Russian, I realized that the homeland that I was hoping for was not to be. It was a place of persecution and violence, so it was not going to be the place that I wanted to return to, that would hold me and give me happiness and joy and feel like a home for me. When I went to Ireland the very first time, I got off the plane and was astounded at that feeling of homecoming that I had always longed for and never experienced. It was actually a mystery because I have no Irish ancestry. I even spit in a tube to find out. And it came back 97% Eastern European Jew. A year later, it came back saying, because the database has increased, it's now 100%. So all hopes of having some Native American blood or Irish blood, which I feel very kin to, they vanished. But the beauty of what remained is that Ireland has become a very happy place for me. Every time I go there, I feel held and welcomed. I actually have been there 5 times. And this was written at the Dublin airport, September 15th, 2016. Before meeting up with the group, I was waiting for the bus, the 23 Express to Sligo. She calls. When day is done and the clatter and cacophony of the world's roar subsides, I hear her. Gentle lapping of waves along the Aran Island shores, echo of surf crashing 300-foot cliff fortress walls, the crunch of gravel under hiking boots headed for solitary mountain trails, lone hikers tuned to the melodies of sheep and wind, the generous quiet of green rolling hills, the blazing music of fiddles and whistles, bazookies and bowers spilling from pub doorways into the rain-washed streets at midnight, hearth fires still being lit from peat gathered in backyard bogs, that very particular shade of softened golden light falling between rainbows and rain. Megalithic passage tombs sharing secrets with those who listen. Stone circles waiting to add their quiet strength and silent messages. The music of an ancient language sliding sideways into the Irish tongue. Sheep and the endless shades of green that meet your eyes in every direction. Wisdom of the old ways. Ireland has called again. She has become a siren song, making her way across the sea, whispering through the pines and old-growth redwoods, blowing across the dry, parched grasses of a drought-stricken California, coming through my window, landing on my pillow, entering my dreams and my waking, finding me once again across time and distance. I can feel her alive in me, like a lake, stream, river, sea. Ireland is friend, lover, teacher, hearth, and sanctuary. Though I thought she did not know me, though my name was from another land, Ireland called to me across the waters, and landing on her shores, I knew I had come home. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now I'm very happy to welcome June Blue Spruce. June has come here actually down from Seattle. Thank you, June.
My pleasure.
June Blue Spruce is a writer, activist, life coach, and shamanic practitioner. Her poems have been published in Off Our Backs, Northwest Passage, South Seattle Emerald, Sister Singing, and My Lover is a Woman, contemporary lesbian love poems. Also, And I Am Ready to Speak. She is the author of the poetry chapbook, Clear Cut. Her blog on dreaming, healing, and activism is at www.junebluespruce.com, and I said that out loud because it is an amazing blog. June is someone to follow. She's worked for many years on healthcare delivery and research, and now works with community-based groups on tree protection, climate change, women's and LGBTQ rights and social justice. And again, she lives in Seattle. We're so happy to welcome June Blue Spruce.
I'm so grateful to Carolyn and Janice for pulling this book together and doing all the work that it required. So Carolyn talked about Slivna Kaliak. This is an amazingly special place for me. I have been to Ireland 3 times and I've been in that cairn every time. It's named for and dedicated to An Kaliak, the most ancient earth goddess in Ireland. Fierce crone, creator of mountains, goddess of sovereignty. I've been to this cairn at the top of the hill. I've ducked my head to enter it. I've done ritual there. I've studied the complex architecture and carved symbols. I've chanted and toned in the cairn. I even had a powerful spiritual encounter with An Kaliak herself. Until we climbed the hill on autumn equinox, September 23rd, 2016, I had never before seen the sun on the stone. Autumn equinox at Slivna Kaliak. Sandy was the first of our group to emerge from the passage mound, bowing down under the low stone doorway, face glowing, lit by the sun rising in an almost cloudless sky, illuminated like the intricately carved stone at the back of the mound's inner chamber, which lies in shadow except 2 hours at sunrise, a few days a year, when light and dark balance. 16 of us hiked slowly up the steep hill through sheep pasture in near dark, some leaning on aluminum poles in place of ancient wooden staffs. We carried offerings of stones, tobacco, cedar. Hearts beating fast, we sought an opening, Earth's womb, creation's mystery. One by one, we passed through the gate, then circled the mound step by step, sunwise. In dim light, we glimpsed lichen-covered curbstones of the mound, then faced east toward a slice of lightening sky. Below, low spots in the undulating green landscape filled with white mist, like the shallows of a great sea. Mist, too, is a doorway, a threshold. In the mists, shapes shift, reveal magic. As the orange arc of sun rose above eastern hills, the sound of drums, ram's horn, penny whistle, and rattles reverberated against stone, vibrating our bones. Strains of the great song entered the mound, the body of the goddess, fierce grandmother An Kaliak, for whom this hill is named. The first slanted rays of the sun reached in and brushed the inner stone's green velvet, painting it gold. To see the light, we each had to block it for a moment, clamber over the high stone threshold, duck under the lintel, feel our way into darkness, crouch like women in labor, huddle together like twins or triplets swimming in the womb's inward sea. Then settle, gaze at the sun's rays on the stones as if no one had ever seen it before. No one had. Not one of us had ever been the person we were in that moment, seeing that light on that stone in that way. We each became someone new, the one who emerged from the passage, the birth canal, the doorway between life and death, light and dark, certainty and mystery. Our newborn faces glowed in the dawn. We were held in every cell, every step, by the grandmother. Thank you.
Beautiful, June. It's something to hear these read by the author. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we get to invite Innisfree back up. And just to tell you a little bit about the band that you were hearing when you were walking in. Innisfree was founded by Sarojini Rohan. Thank you, Sarojini. In 2006, upon her first return from Ireland with the poet David White. The band has one album out entitled After the Toast. It was released in 2007 with former members. While personnel have changed, Innisfree stays true to performing mostly traditional Irish music to honor the land, her people, and rich musical heritage. Current members include Kevin Jonker on lead vocals, Mariah Roberts on fiddle, and Matthew Harmon on guitar. And I'm really delighted to welcome them up to the stage so you can really enjoy their artistry.
Our first tune for you tonight is written by Jerry O'Byrne. He is a county resident from County Clare on the west coast of Ireland, and it's called Shades of Gloria, and it's his love song to County Clare, also a tribute to his friend Michael Russell, who kept traditional Irish music alive for all the years he was famous as a piper and a whistler and a fiddler. Shades of Glory.
I am going to the country, going down that verdant lane, with nothing but a whistle in my hand and a pocket full of rain. Can you hear that distant sound coming down the West Clare Railway and running with the shades of Gloria? The wind is full of memories that murmur and sigh. The hills rise from the foaming grass of Clare, below the cold moon's eye. But you should come and see them now, when they are on fire and running with the shades of Gloria. And the waves roll on the headlands, and the tide is rising there. Here there is starlight falling down on the hills of Clare. I knew them when I was hungry, and I knew them when I was scared, and running with the shades of Gloria. I am going to the country, where Michael in his prime weaves a thread of melody in his own sweet time. You can hear him sing and whistle anytime you care to go I'm going to the country, going down that verdant lane, with nothing but a whistle in my hand and a pocket full of rain. Can you hear the distant sound coming down the West Fair Railway and running with the shades of Gloria?
Wow. Let's just have another hand for them. Written by an Irishman and from County Clare, his love song to his own homeland. You know, one of my favorite nights in the 2016 tour was actually one of those great things that came together unplanned. We had a free night. We were at a pub listening to some pretty good Irish music, and I think it was June who went down the block and found in a sort of a smaller pub off the beaten path a traditional Irish music set going on. And she came and got us, and about 4 of us went down there and spent a fabulous evening with these kind of, you know, Irish musicians about our age. So that at the end of the whole set, first of all, we call Sarojini and we say, look, she plays. She ended up playing with them, which was really fun. I'm like up there doing Irish jigs that I learned from my grandmother. I think June was doing the jig. It was crazy. At the end of the night, they're like, oh, let's become friends on Facebook, okay? We all did selfies, and it was a great night. So now I get to welcome Janice O'Driscoll up to be with us. So Janice O'Driscoll, as I mentioned, is the designer of Sacred Stone, Sacred Water. She is an artist, a photographer, a printmaker, who translates pencil, marker, and ink drawings into intaglio and relief prints. She is a member of the Printmaker at the Tannery Cooperative in Santa Cruz, and she serves on its board. She has exhibited her work in juried shows in California and New York State, and frequently in the Santa Cruz and Monterey Bay area. She's also a professional librarian, and right now she's actually the assistant director at the Santa Cruz Public Library. So she has spent her life steeped in literature and writing. The 2016 journey to Ireland was her first visit to her homeland, the home of her ancestors. You can get that from her last name, O'Driscoll. And Janice was good enough to bring some of her artwork, which is in the back. We'll turn up the lights at the intermission. You can take a look at some of her work. We're so happy to welcome Janice O'Driscoll.
I want to take just a moment to thank you all for coming. It's so amazing to see you all here, hear this beautiful music. I spent so many months with this book alone with my laptop in the middle of the night, going back to Ireland many, many times. visiting, rereading all the beautiful writing, looking at all of the beautiful photographs, and putting it together. And it's so amazing to see all of you here, because for so long it was a little bit more solitary. I do want to mention, that I'm short. I want to mention that I'm short. I don't know what I wanted to mention, but I'm sure. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention. When Carolyn said we were sitting in Ireland and she asked me would I do the book, I do want to point out we were in Ireland, so we were drinking. But I don't regret it. Although there were a couple moments. The other thing you need to know about me is that I'm not a writer. And so at the end of a day when people were sharing their very beautiful work, the words that they had, then I would show my sketchbook at the end of the day and show them what I had been doing. And when we got back, Carolyn said to me, well, you have to write something for the book. And I said, what? So what I'm going to read is what I wrote when I got back. It was a tiny white feather, shaped like a fan with a gently curved shaft, open and delicate. It floated closer and closer, barely touching the sage-colored water. Look, Jess exclaimed, it's coming right to you. You must have it. I was busy with my camera, wanting the perfect shot. No, I said, that's okay. I'm getting a picture of it. Jess didn't hear because she was already flat on her stomach, reaching out to pluck the treasure from the sea. And there it was in my palm. I carried it all over Ireland and then back home, where it sits on my desk, still white, still a fan, still telling me its story. This trip was true time travel. At any one moment, I was simultaneously presented with my travel companions and their evocative writings, making mental notes for my sister, who is no longer able to travel and seems unlikely to visit Ireland, and talking to my dead father and all the family I never met. Then there were all those messages at Cruz, Newgrange, Noth, Bear Island, and the wild Atlantic Way to puzzle over and carry home. As a printmaker, I love transparent layers. I love them even more when they are random layers, because that is when I discover how this story and that memory and those stones reveal something essential. Now images of feathers transmit the messages and clues and the mysteries among the many layers. Muriel Rukeyser wrote, "The universe is made of stories, not atoms. And it has to be so. How else could time travel be possible? The companionship, the spirals, the stones, the green, the bus driver who stopped his run to feed his horse, the rain, the sunrise, the man I saw on the dock at Bear Island who looked exactly like my father, the white feather from Jess, the black feather Ursi gave me with the thin white edge resembling the equinox light in a passage mound. All of this created my Irish universe. Part of me is still there. Or is that universe here with me now? However it is, I sort through the drawings and the photographs and the memories and make my layers.
So Janice really isn't a writer. Just saying. It was really fun to have Janice with us, though, because she is, primarily an artist. So people would be writing away, and I would have given a prompt, and then I look over, and she sketched her answer to the prompt, and it's beautiful. And some of the sketches are in the book, and some of the art that evolved from that sketch, and particularly that feather, are in the book, and there's some of the original of those right in the back there. So take a look. So for our last reader for the first half tonight would have been Linda Serrato, our beloved Linda Serrato. Many of you know her. Linda lives in Chico, is a wonderful poet, and was on her way, was going to be driving here this morning, but we don't have her with us. She had a medical issue come up this morning, and I think it's fine, but wasn't able to make the drive. So we don't have Linda Serrato with us here tonight. But we are going to ask Marilyn Duhamel to read a couple of her poems. It's the poems that Linda would have been reading from Sacred Stone, Sacred Water. And we invited Marilyn Duhamel because Marilyn came to Ireland with us in 2012. And so she's been to these places. She understands sort of the texture of what Linda was writing about and knows Linda as well. So just to tell you a bit about the poet whose work you're about to hear. Linda Serrato is a retired teacher and poet whose work has been published in Along These Lines, Travelogue for Two, Rehome Photographers and Writers, Sister Singing, and Watershed Literary Magazine. As a young poet, she was awarded the Josephine Miles Award by the American Academy of Poets. In 2013, she won the Editor's Poetry Prize from Floodplain Literary Magazine. Linda helped to organize public school teachers and is involved with workers' rights and human rights. She received her MA in creative writing from San Francisco State University and lives in Chico. So she is now working on her first full-length poetry collection, and she's a wonderful poet. I'm happy that we're going to hear her work tonight, even if we don't only have her with us in spirit. But we're going to happily welcome Marilyn Duhamel. Marilyn is a writer and a psychotherapist who lives at the edge of the wild in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Professionally, she has spent the last decades in deep dialogue with her therapy clients, listening between the words. Increasingly, she tunes her ear to even more elusive communications with animals, dreams, ancestors, and archetypal realms. She says light comes in through the crack in everything, quoting Leonard Cohen. Marilyn believes that's how our light shines out. And she's just created a new blog and website called Earth Dialogues. So I hope you go check that out. But right now we're going to welcome Marilyn Duhamel reading Linda Serrato's poems. Thank you.
Hello. As Carolyn mentioned, it's been 7 years since I've been in Ireland, but the beauty is reading this book and hearing tonight the writers, the music. It feels like it's all coming back. Also, I just want to say that I'm a huge fan of Linda's work. We shared a writing group last year, and we met once a month, and every month I would look forward, what will Linda bring this time? And every time her words just open worlds. So she did, knowing she couldn't be here, she did send along some words about her poems
and this first poem is called Reflection at Castletown Bear. And she said, walking by the harbor of Castletown Bear in the Barra Peninsula, it sent me back to my childhood in San Francisco, walking the marina and Fisherman's Wharf. It sent me back to my home. Reflection at Castletown Bear. Ships at sunset, their bodies bobbing with the tide, a tender rocking like a mother's newborn lullaby sway. Then after dinner, boat lights glimmering in the dark water, casting a faint glow home. I think of reflection, meaning to think, to muse, to ponder. Or is it to put a mirror to my soul, my heart? It's been many years since I've walked by harbor lights, heard the lapping of water against pylons, over rocks and sand. Since I've stared at wrinkled boats in a bay, smelled the briny scent of my childhood. Tonight, I was taken to the other side of the world, to my home. And as I walked toward the bus, I closed my eyes. I listened hard for the soothing melodies of fog horns. So Linda's second and last poem is called At Mary Madison's County Cork. And I have to say myself that when you read the book and hear more about Mary Madison, you too may fall in love with her. She is true magic. Here are Linda's comments about the poem. This poem takes place at Mary Madison's house in the Barra Peninsula. Mary is an Irish stone diviner and psychic, a person of light, a gift to us all, amazing and funny. Many of us went to her for a stone reading, and waiting at her house was like sitting around a little museum, outside and in. She lives on an exquisite piece of land overlooking the sea, with her artwork, with pieces of herself all over the place. Linda also shares this. Before I went to Ireland, I was in a long period of writer's block. This poem is about going to Ireland and getting my voice back. At Mary Madison's County Cork. Normally, I have to put in earplugs in order to hear the silence, in order to hear the faint murmuring of my heart. Normally, my voice is buried beneath the everyday. Grandbabies, the music of Mike Love, the juggling of pots and pans by my grown son. These are not bad sounds, no, and these have been the sounds of my life for some months. But they are not my sounds that fall the way a rose petal falls to the ground. My voice has not been coming to me lately. She's been hiding in the shadows or fluttering just beneath the hummingbird's wings. I've watched her from my front window, dancing with the bees, hopping from arm to arm on the big sage. Yet I didn't call to her, always being distracted by a spill or a hug or grunts from my grandson. It's taken a 3-hour car ride, a 10-hour flight, and some bus rides for us to meet again. The bird was a good scout. She tracked me down across a continent, across an ocean, across a lush green island. She found me so that I could hear the pounding of my heart on the way to Loch Cruz. Songbirds trilling between rain showers. The rush of the wind bringing back a love. the whispering footsteps at Anamkara. Now I sit in Mary's kitchen on a finger of land that aches with memory, gazing at the Atlantic and a collection of stones and shells on the windowsill. Normally, the air around me is filled with a menagerie of noise, but today I hear the fluttering of 1,000 hummingbirds and a voice, my voice, sailing through the wind.
Thank you, Marilyn, beautiful, and thank you to Linda Serrato. And now we're going to hear a bit more from Innisfree. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to play in the right key. We have two tunes for you. The first is called Planks to Hewlett, and it was written about 250 years ago by what Ireland has come to call Turlough O'Callaghan as their national composer. Planks to Hewlett, and Planks to is basically a song in tribute to somebody. So this must have been written to the merry host, Mr. and Mrs. Hewlett. During my first journey to Ireland that I encountered and fell in love with the soul of Irish music. It spoke of blood-soaked battlefields, the sorrows of exiles and hardships, and honor of the ancestral heritage and the resilience of a people who endured. As a Celtic musician, I have played the traditional instrumental swallowtail jig for many years. And finally inspired, I had started to write lyrics to the tune. On this trip, as was mentioned before, in a pub in Castletown Bear on the southwest coast of Ireland, encouraged by my intrepid friends, I sat in with the locals and played the instrumental version and as one of the tunes we shared. Upon arrival back in the States, I realized that now I could finally finish the lyrics I had started, having been there, feet in the soil, pilgrimage taken, offerings made, music from the pub still ringing in my ears. "O Come, All You Rovers" was finally birthed. I offer special thanks to my bandmates for bringing it alive here for you tonight. Thank you.
Here's to the boys that are happy and gay, singing and dancing and tearing away, rollicking, frolicking, frisky and free, those rollicking boys from Pandernagee. Oh, come all ye rovers to places so pretty, take leave of the noise and the cares of the city, to follow the glens and the dales that abide, the call of the lark and the sea is your guide. Ireland whistles the tune of the goddess, the tales of the magic, the lore of the forests, the famine, the exile, the battles, the rise of tigers and homecomings, tender and wise. The phoenix that soars over bloody Portmore, the cry of the free and their servants no more. Be brave and be bold, knowing your gifts are true, the ancestors' wisdom now singing through you. Oh, come all ye rovers and gather together to relish the music, the magic, the weather, farms, pubs, and stone circles, trails by the sea, welcoming all to the grand mystery. The phoenix that soars over bonny Portmore, the cry of the free that are servants no more. Be brave and be bold, knowing your gifts are true, the ancestors' wisdom now singing through you.
There is more where that came from. We're going to take a 10-minute intermission.